Okay,
It's
record
an
on this
important position.
computer. Okay, I'm not recording. So we are not recording. Your name is Rayne Grant. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Hi, Brian. It's nice to see you here in virtual
It's
world.
nice to see you here as well. Your set is awesome, I must say. You got cool banners and stuff, and it makes me want to look at that room. It's very
It
exciting.
is a really nice room, quite frankly. I've got a lot going on here. This is my studio space. This is where I do video editing over here in the corner.
Mhm.
This is where I record. I'm a metaphysician and I do tarot readings. So this is kind of my set where I come and record, some of my YouTube videos. And I'm still decorating. So you've got plastic over here. Soon it'll be lights and loveliness. I also call it my she shed. You gotta have, if a man can have a man cave, then I have a she shed.
She shed. She shed. Man cave, she shed. This
Shed,
is great. I love it.
the she shore.
Yeah. Well, it looks really pretty, so good job. And your audio is great, your lighting is
Thank
great. So let's chat. We were gonna chat
you.
today with a
You're
guy.
in Bosque?
Of course, I'm in the Bosque. Where else would I be? Um,
Well, sometimes things shift and change, in the blink of an eye. We never know.
Unfortunately, I understand that very well. Yes. So, so we were going to be joined by a guy who was going to talk about music. One of his topics was music, and I know you're super involved with music. And so I kind of have an interest in talking with you about music. Can we do that?
Oh, yeah, I could be down with talking about music. Definitely. Music is one of my first passions in a lot of different ways. hmm
I don't
Um,
like music.
I don't believe you. I don't
I,
believe you,
I,
Brian.
I don't believe me either. I love music, but I don't like how it is in society, I guess. And so I would love to talk with you about your experience with music and what it is. One of my basic problems is I grew up very evangelical Christian, and so non-religious music was not allowed. And so I grew up musically ignorant, which is very
That
sad, really.
Yeah, that is sad, to be musically ignorant. I can sympathize with you. I was raised very Pentecostal. Okay, it's a very very intense sect of the Christian, order or whatever you may call it. But that would be my dad was an audiophile and a DJ when I was a child, so he had tons of records. So I grew up on rock and roll. But I would say, other than the bad taste in my mouth that I gained from being raised Pentecostal, I was really glad to be involved with the choir, and I learned a lot of skills in harmonizing with other people. So I would, picking from the negativity that I experienced, I would say that was actually positive for me in my growth as a singer, songwriter, musician
Wait,
later.
so you're talking about singing in church with a bunch of people in a choir, right?
Yes, yes. It allowed
Wow.
me to develop my voice and practice harmonizing, because harmony, when we sing with other people and our voices blend together to create a new note, that is very, very powerful. Just the tonality alone. But depending on what you're saying behind that tonality can sometimes be even more powerful.
So at a very young age, I mean, how old are you? What are we talking about here? How old are you when you're doing this thing with singing with the church?
Let's see. I started singing. I think we started going to church, that I recollect, when I was about 6 years old. So I joined the choir when I was about 10. I sang in the choir till I was about 15 years old. Singing lessons and choir. So I was actually really, really involved in singing in the church. Um, I had issues with the church other than that, and that's a different topic altogether. We could get into the religious part of it, but really it just set me up to have a strong sense of my singing capabilities, and then in the dynamics of working in groups. So that did set me up for success in a lot of ways.
See,
uh,
that's really interesting to me because I'm kind of anti-religious in many ways, but but I'm also pro-religious. Like what can we save from religion? What can we have from religion that was awesome? And maybe music is one of the best things about religion for many people. And you're telling me that, that was an early influence musically.
most definitely,
That's pretty
most
cool.
Yeah. I guess I was blessed to be in a musical church because there were other churches in the region that were anti-music in the church. Like that was, I guess, against God's will or God's wish. I really don't know, but the Pentecostal, they're a little bit more expressive, we'll say. We're a little more, we were a little more expressive. I never really could get into the speaking in tongues. I tried at a young age. I remember being 11 and trying to speak in tongues, and I just couldn't do it. Not to say that that's wrong or that's no judgment on that. I just couldn't do it. So I don't know. It was a very strict church, and I was definitely kind of, I rubbed certain people the wrong way even at a very young age. I would say, I want to mention something. So I was in Girl Scouts, and I grew up in the South, in the Bible Belt in Mississippi, and very, very segregated, especially within races, okay, like blacks versus whites. Well, I was a Girl Scout, which actually incorporated everyone, and so I had some very good friends that were black, and I would go hang out with them. I'd go spend the night with them. I'd go to church with them, and their church was amazing. Like if you imagine, in the South being in like a Baptist church and everybody's singing and just kind of clapping and everybody's like, that's how their church was. And I remember really being impressed by these people. I think I was about 13, 14 years old at that time. So I was just like so excited by how musical their church was. And there was this little kid. How old was he? He must have been 10 or younger. And he was playing piano and going off. And I was told that he was self-taught, that the Lord was moving through him. And that was always so intriguing to me. I was like, wow, he taught himself. God's moving through his fingers, and whatever that meant. And so I was so excited to bring my friends to my church, because I was like, hey, that's all what it's all about. We're all like sharing and going back and forth. And what I was disturbed to find out is that it was not acceptable to bring my friends to church with me because they were of darker color than us. And that was when I started separating myself from the church. I really didn't like it. I approached my Sunday school teacher one day after he had referred to people of color as a nigger, which I don't even like saying the word. I think it's a terrible word, but he did. And I said, hey, I don't think that God would really approve of being judgmental. And I was just a little kid, So I left the Sunday school room and I went and sat outside, and I was very disturbed. And I told my parents, I don't want to go to church anymore. I don't want to go to church. I don't like that. That doesn't feel like, it made me really sad. It made me feel really, really heavy in my heart. And they said, well, we should go see the pastor and his wife, and so later that week, they took me over to the pastor's house. And so I had to approach the pastor and his wife, and it was very difficult. I remember being very, very nervous as a little girl. And I just let him know that how wonderful it was to go to these people's church and how open they were, and how, I was so welcomed there, and how beautiful it was, how uplifting I felt, and how when I went to our church, I didn't feel that. And and I didn't understand why there was so much hate toward people that looked different than ourselves. And, it's the ongoing thing, it's the ongoing all time, why is there so much racism? And in the South, there's a lot of it. And it's really, it's hateful, and it's distasteful. And it's, I remember it just really, really hurt me. And his response to me, I remember just standing there thinking, what, and expressing this, like, hey, God doesn't judge. If you're talking about God's all about love and incorporation. At least my God is. He said, well, God would be okay with them coming to church, but I'm afraid if you bring them to church, then it would discourage other people in the church from continuing to come to church. And I think that might have been one of the last days I went to church. I refused to go to church after that. I was like, my mom and dad would bring me, and I would refuse to go into the doors. I would just sit outside and wait for them, because it just didn't, even though I wanted to be a part of the music, and it was like I had friends inside, it didn't feel right. And I was like, so I stopped I stopped going to the church at a young age, even against the grain. Um, but but it still left a really strong impression going to that Baptist church, and just how musical and how passionate that they were about their religion. And I'm like, I don't think I share the same views as this church that I was raised in. And it took a lot of nerve to I don't know if I was standing up to the preacher, so to speak, but yeah, kind of, I guess I was.
And so
And I think
you
back
said you
now, I'm
were
like,
8 years old when this started occurring to you, but that probably took a lot longer time to really sink in.
yeah, it was about, yeah, I think I was about 14 when I finally, when I came to this realization, had gone to the other church, and I was like, this isn't fair, this is not what you're teaching, what's even in the Bible. This is the book that you're teaching from, and that's like, it's hypocritical. And so I'm grateful for the church, teaching me about music and seeing different sides to things. But, ultimately it's really important to kind of stand in your own perspective, stand in your own power, regardless of how old you are.
Are you an atheist?
An atheist, probably the opposite of an atheist.
You have to have a beard to do that, right?
Yes. How about yourself?
I mean,
I know. I'm kind of mimicking you.
it's okay though. It's okay.
Are
It's
you an
because you
atheist?
don't have a beard. I approve
Are
it.
you an atheist?
I am an atheist. I am,
You are.
and I know that atheists are like one of the most hated groups in the world. Everybody hates atheists.
Oh, are they?
Oh yeah.
Even the
'Cause
devil worshippers hate.
if there was a cool devil here, I
I
would.
have friends that I could represent the devil. The devil was a fallen angel, right?
Right, and the devil theoretically is really
Satan.
pretty also. So Lucifer is actually a really attractive
Yeah, the
being.
most.
People don't just follow Lucifer for no reason. Uh, I don't know. I don't believe in
Yeah, yeah.
I don't believe in anything.
You don't believe anything, but you believe in music,
Of
right?
course, that's
Maybe.
ridiculous. Of course, if I wake up in the morning, I believe that the floor will still be there.
That's,
And I,
and that's perception, because perhaps the floor may not be there,
it might not be there, but it usually is, and always has been. And so all I'm going to go with is what is materialistic philosophical reality, that things seem to exist, right? Like, why do I even believe
Mhm.
you exist? Why should I believe you
Right.
exist? Because you appear
I know.
to
We have
exist.
the physical.
Right. And so solipsism or something is where you only think yourself exists. That's ridiculous. Okay. You seem to exist, therefore
Mm.
you do. And that's true of every other part of reality. Like, why do I plant trees? I think the plant, like the tree exists. That's it. That's it. It's not complicated. And so all the philosophical bullshit we come up with about like, does this exist or does not exist is crap. We think things exist because they seem to. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. If we don't believe it exists, then perhaps it doesn't, until it smacks us in the face. You're like, whoa, where'd that come from? And you have to be, you don't have to, but it's good to be open minded to being smacked in the face sometimes. Be like, okay, things aren't exactly the way I thought they were. But there is something to be said about, things being how we believe that they are.
Right. Well, that's all very philosophical.
You
Let's
know,
get back to music. Can we do that?
very
Sure.
philosophical.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So music. So this has been a topic that you are wanting to cover because you're passionate about it. I'm assuming you
I
are
am.
into
I am. I
music.
am.
Okay. Okay. So yes, music has been definitely a healer of sorts for me. I am a very creative individual, and yeah, music has always been an expression, whether that's singing, playing, or dancing to it. And music and vibration and harmony. I'm Yeah, I feel like that it has the tendency to bring people together. So I have a lot of things that I could talk about pertaining to music. I moved to Austin, Texas, back in the year 2000, and I pursued my songwriting career, as a performing artist down there. And I was successful. I was one of the top folk. I called myself a folk punk artist um, at the time, and I toured around the area quite a bit and had a decent following at the time. And
I have to interrupt you there. You said folk punk? What?
yes, yes. Well, I mean, look at what punk music is at its core. Punk music is politically driven. Okay. So a lot of my songs had some political verses here and there. It's kind of about like not really giving the finger to the man, but yeah, speaking about your truth. And that might be pro or against what the government is saying. That's kind of what the punk scene originally was about.
Cool. Well, I like that. Thank you for the definition. Folk punk. Okay, so
Folk punk.
I'm gonna change a direction, but we're gonna stay with music because it's very exciting. I'm musically ignorant, and
Musically ignorant. So what does that mean to you?
I grew up without a lot of music. I grew up with only Christian music, and most of it sucked. And that doesn't mean it was all terrible, but even having any music in my life was considered a sin in a way, So
Right.
I had Keith Green, um, who's a Christian musical artist, and some other musical influences. And then I also got some classical music, which was really cool. Like I had 10 the albums, like the big vinyl things that I could put on a record player, and it was classical music. It was Tchaikovsky, and I really loved that shit. I really did. It was wonderful. But I was basically like, by the time I got to high school, like people talked about music and I didn't know anything about that. And even now, I don't care about most of it. I think music sucks. And that's not because music's bad. It's because I am very particular, I guess, in a way. So
So you said you grew up with very religious based music. No wonder you went atheist. Sorry. But I mean, so even, fast forward to today, you don't like music unless it's classical, or you just don't like a lot of the music coming out right now, or do dive into that a little bit more.
well, that's an interesting question. I like. I'm very interested in Creative Commons and ownership of music and who owns music. Like, I don't like the idea that we listen to all this music, but some corporation owns it. And even the musicians themselves are slaves into this system. And I'm against that. And so I
That's
love
terrible.
the idea of Creative Commons, public domain, and how can we share the music? Like, if I want to get married, which I don't, but why is there this ownership of music when someone walks down the aisle? I'm against it.
Right. Yeah, I have a big issue with the ownership of music as well. I've been offered a couple of contracts in my career. Well, I mean, when I was living in Austin, Texas, and I turned them down because I was like, really? You're basically gonna own me and my life story and anything that I'm creating. And then, I mean, they basically screw the musician. And a lot of musicians have had an issue with that and have formed alliances. And now with the way that the internet is and whatnot, it gives the individual artist a lot more control of what they own. And I see a lot of independent artists uploading their things to forums like SoundCloud and things like that, which allow them to promote their art, but they're not under contract that they have to pay, unless it's like a contract with the platform, and they might make a certain percentage of your sales. And that makes sense in any business situation, any kind of contract. But to give yourself, like, to sell your soul to the devil, not me, no, it's not that I'm not really a fallen angel. I'm I like to
Oh,
pretend that.
I love what you're saying. I mean, the thing is that we have issues about property rights and intellectual property. And we can make decisions about how to release our information better or worse in terms of intellectual property. So, you're a musician. What kind of instruments do you play?
Well, I play all sorts of instruments. I play anything from these beautiful music. I have a friend that creates these sound.
Wait, is this the guy named
And
Robert?
this is Richard Cook. He
Oh, Richard
designs all
Cook.
sorts of
Right.
toned
Okay.
instruments. And so I like toned instruments. I use them in when I do when I do sound baths, or if I'm leading a ceremony, or if I'm a part of a ceremony and I'm doing the sound part of it. Um, that's not what my forte is. Like, I don't make those instruments, but my friend does. He makes those. But yeah, I love tonality and how that affects our energy fields, okay? Because some of it has science behind it, and some of it may be a little woo woo, right? Um, so I like that. But I play, I am at my core, I think I am a singer. I use my voice, which I believe the voice is an instrument. So I use my voice a lot. Um, Guitar, ukulele, bass, drums. I'm getting into electronic music, so now I'm learning Ableton. And so, yeah, music is a tool, and it can help us and other people to reach different heights. As far as that's my opinion of it. Yeah, yeah. So you're anti-music, or you just like to be kind of on the fringe a little bit of
You know, I
the
say a lot of
devil's,
stuff, and you shouldn't take everything I say seriously.
devil's
Um,
advocate.
I'm kind of, yeah, devil's advocate a little bit. And the thing is, I'm never going to turn on amplified music. I think amplified music is annoying. And also, if there's two sources of amplified music, then it's annoying. So I,
Mhm.
it's not like I'm against anything really. And I want
That's
music,
good.
and so
Yeah.
let's talk about
Music,
singing. Let's talk about singing for a second. Now you sing, right?
uh, I do. I do.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I don't sing. And you know why I don't sing?
Why is that?
Because I think I'll sound terrible, and I think people will judge me, and,
Oh,
and, and I'll seem like a dumbass. And
okay.
and
So
and
this is it's like a self-esteem thing.
yeah, unfortunately, and even though I'm very bold and I do what the fuck I want to do, you know, at the same time, I don't want to seem like a dumbass.
No, of course. We don't, we all want to be accepted by the people around us, right? And I have a similar issue where I don't want to sing in front of, say, if there's like four people around me, I feel very shy to pick up my guitar and play because I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, even if they're asking me to play. But if I get up on stage in front of, like, say, 300 people, I can totally do it because my mind separates myself from my audience in some kind of weird way. So I'm like, it's a different dynamic. Now, I want to get back to what you're saying about not feeling comfortable or confident in singing. Is it because you don't feel that your voice is good enough? Or, I mean, do you enjoy singing? Like, if nobody's around, you just kind of sing at all?
No, I think I might suck or something.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that somebody told you that when you were a child, perhaps?
Yeah, probably. I don't
Wow.
know. I mean, I would love to have a conversation because I know multiple singers, and
Huh.
and they're awesome people and they sing really well. And I actually should probably seek out their advice on this because I have a great voice. I believe I have a great voice. I narrate shit. I've been paid to read things and narrate them, and uh, I would like to. Um, here's the thing I believe about singing. Okay, and I'm totally ignorant. I think that you don't have to be a good singer. You have to be a sincere one. So you look at someone like, Bob Dylan, for example. Okay, are you telling me that guy has a good voice? Yeah, he does have a good voice because he's saying awesome shit, you know. And it isn't that
Right.
that
From the
he has this
soul, from
dynamic
the heart.
range and everything. It's not like he's the most sophisticated singer in the world, but all I gotta do is just speak well. I think. I'm not sure. I'm confused about it, to be honest.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. I could say I could go in a couple of different directions with what you just said, but ultimately, yeah, from the soul, regardless if you're speaking or singing, if it comes from the soul, it comes from your heart, that is more powerful than someone who is really really well trained and is hitting every single note exactly perfect. But if there's no soul behind it, it doesn't really reach people. But there is something about that human dynamic of connecting with someone who is coming from the heart, and you're like, oh, I get it. Oh yeah, I felt like that. I can sympathize, or I can empathize with that. That's where I think that any expression of art, whether it's singing, speaking, poetry, or even painting, whatever that is, if that reaches someone from a soulful level, that's when it's gold.
Arr, I agree with you. Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
yeah. I will say about I had been asked you if someone had told you that you couldn't sing when you were a child, because I am very, very passionate about um, the topic of how we treat our young people. And we need to really watch the things that come out of our mouth as an adult. We may think it's a joke, but kids think about things in a different way, and they are very impressionable. And we can, a person can carry just one comment for many, many years of their life, if not the rest of their life, and it negatively impact them. For instance, when I was 12 years old, I went to some singing lessons, and the lady that I was doing singing lessons with told me that I should not be a singer. Like, I should not focus on singing because my range is so small and I'm not a good singer, and I always thought I was alto. I have a lower voice, I have a lower free range, So I took it to heart somewhat. I never tried to sing high. I never really pushed that part of my voice, but I did pursue music because I'm passionate about it. But it always stuck with me. Every time I try to sing a song, I'm like, oh, I can't sing that because I don't have a good high voice. And it just, her comment that one time stuck with me for years and years. And then recently, before COVID hit, I was in, it's kind of embarrassing. I was in the Durango Voice. It was I only say it's embarrassing because I don't like competition in art. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right to me. But I was in this competition because we were raising money for a local soup kitchen. And I was one of the finalists, and then I was one of the winners or whatever. That wasn't the reason why I was doing it. But as a finalist in The Voice, I don't know if you're familiar with The Voice, but they have three judges, and they say, each judge is like, I want to train you, and you get to pick which trainer that you want to work with. And I chose the opera singer because I was like, hey, I've been singing for years. I want to push myself, and this is outside of my comfort zone because I really do like stepping outside of my comfort zone. Maybe it's kind of, I don't know, an adrenaline rush or something. But what I found was working with this opera singer. She was like, honey, you've got a 3-octave range. You're hitting high C up here. She's like, you're just lacking the confidence. And what I found, now I'm writing songs in those higher pitches. And I was like, what was holding me back was that comment from when I was 12 years old. And and then it made me really realize we have to be extremely careful about not only how we treat children and the things that we say because they're highly impressionable, but also knowing that about ourselves as adults. What have we been impressioned upon, and how can we break through that and change our patterns so that we can grow from any age, from any state that we're at currently? Anyway, that was my little rant right there.
Well, I'm actually very impressed. I mean, even though I've advertised myself as a person that doesn't like music, that sounds awesome. That sounds wonderful. And I want more music in the world, to be honest. But I
More
want
music.
more free music. I want music that is available for people and that they um, own their own music and their culture. And that's a weird thing to say
Mm,
that I would like you to understand, if possible. Like, I think people should own the music and their culture. Like when they get married,
Absolutely.
you know, people should have music that they own when they get married, and they can produce a video on it or something. And
Mhm.
it's kind of complicated. Like the best music I ever saw was in Ireland,
Hmm. Okay.
and it was in some random local place where people were playing music that their ancestors played. You know, that it was three generations of music, and people dropped in and dropped out, and they owned the music, and that's what I want to see. I don't want people to
Yes.
listen to slave music. You know, I want people
Mhm.
to play music for generations, and
Absolutely.
yeah. So it was a weird experience. It was great though. So
That sounds really beautiful. And so, in order to provide free music, in order to provide people with the ability to play music, we need to be able to provide those tools. And I say we because, like, if you feel called to it, then maybe that's a calling. But instruments cost money, right? Or at least the skill set to build an instrument that can also cost money or resources, right?
yeah.
um and being able to provide that, so I'm in a position where I'm wanting to provide that for my children. I want to provide them with the instruments, uh and even the neighborhood kids. I'm like, hey, come over, well, I'll teach you ukulele. I've been known to do that. But it's not always easy to procure musical instruments if you don't have the resources, and there are many, many people that don't have a lot of resources. But then I've seen these really cool videos where people are making instruments out of any number of things, from like trash cans and things. And you're just like, wow, that is genius. And I mean, I love that. That really inspires me. It's like you can make a musical instrument out of many, many things. But yeah, how do we create a scenario in which we have the arts of communities and whatnot. I know here we have the I Am Music group, and they will actually not rent out, but they will loan out instruments, kind of like a library where you go and get a book. You can go and get a guitar or something and rent, or yeah, it's like on loan. And I just think that is a fabulous thing. But yeah, it just gives an idea. We need more situations in which there are instruments and resources available for free. But how do you think how do you think in a situation where there's not a lot of resources or money, we'll say, to provide that, what would be a good way to provide that for ourselves or for other people?
Hey, are you asking me a question?
I'm asking you what you
All
think.
right.
How
Well, I think this. There are very few limitations to music happening, and
Mhm,
right here there are buckets. There's 5 gallon buckets.
mhm.
There's containers. There's anything that can make any noise at all. There's wood here, and so I believe that people can make music, and there are no limitations to them making music. I'm totally in favor, and I'm not in favor of like fancy music. Fuck. Sorry, not supposed to curse.
Fancy music. Did you say fuck?
I do say fuck it. I want people to make music, and I want them to make it well, and they don't need equipment to do it. Rhythm is primitive, Rhythm is caveman, arr, and we can not let anything stop us. There is a music school here in Naranga, which is totally cool. And they have violins and things, fancy music. But I believe that music cannot be stopped. I believe that music should be primal, and that there's nothing that can stop us. I mean, I will fucking bang on a rock if I have to make a sound I like.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you. I would like, yeah, I'd like to hear you, or see you in action. I would.
Well, we're about to get into the flirting action, so we'll skip the flirting action for the moment. But
I just wanted to share this beautiful musical instrument, and this one needs a little maintenancing, but this is a
Wait,
free notes.
is this from the Richard guy?
This is Richard Cook's free notes. You can look up free notes
Yeah,
online, but this one
I,
I'm going to get him.
I watched his video. You recommend his video, and I loved it. So
Yeah, he was on the TED Talk.
bring it on, bring it on.
So yeah, I'm going to actually bring this to him today, later today, and have him repair this piece. But I have the wrong type of mallet for this. But the idea is that each of these notes harmonize with each other. And the reason why they harmonize is so that someone else with a free note, two people, three people or more, can play together, whether or not they are musically inclined. They could be absolutely just, you know, have no musical talent whatsoever, and can pick up one of these and make beautiful tones and make them with others. And I think that is brilliant. That is genius, because music does bring people together. And then, you know, we have the situation where people are told as children that they're not good at something. But this allows for so much freedom. And for me personally, these instruments have opened up an entirely new window of feeling comfortable with making music with other people. So it is.
I did actually watch the video of Richard Cook on, I think it was on a TED Talk or something. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On TED Talk.
And I was really impressed. I really liked his values. I loved his design of the musical instruments. It was totally cool. And so watching that was like, I don't have to be divorced from music, you know, because music often seems like this thing that's out there that I have to work at, and you know, like I have to be good or something. And I love the
Right.
idea that I could be part of music, you know.
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful thing. And many of his instruments are in playgrounds and parks and things for children. But then he has all these indoor instruments, and he'll have gatherings at his house and all these amazing. I mean, he's like a Grammy winner, right? But so he's like a professional musician, uh, recognized. And but we'll have these jams, and it's just so incorporative. What I found, that when I lived in Austin, Texas, although I was able to tap into a lot of really talented musicians, because there are amazing ones there from all over the world, is that people had this not all people, so not dissing Austin altogether, but many of the people I came in contact with had very large egos, very big egos, looking down their nose, asking me, you know, like, where were you trained? I'm like, you know, I'm self-trained. You know, God and Goddess, the nature has given me my whatever, you know, I'm talented because I am. I don't have to prove to anyone that I can sing, because I just can, right? And so I was reserved in sharing my talents with, like, I could get up on stage, perform in front of people, and then be fine. But jamming with people, other musicians, I was always, it was hard for me, because I was scared. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want people looking down their nose at me and judging me negatively because I wasn't as trained as them. And so when I moved here to Colorado, I kind of carried some of those fears and anxieties, and I would be invited to these jam sessions, and I would be completely intimidated by it. And when I started going to these jam sessions at Richard Cook's house, I was able to break through some of those fears, and I realized that I play really well with people, and we're not just playing these instruments. There's any number of instruments that people are bringing, and you know, sometimes I would just not play any instrument, but just sing tones, and not even sing words, but just harmonizing. And I don't know, it was a breakthrough moment. I'm like, we don't have to be competing with each other. And I think maybe that's why I'm kind of against the competitive attitudes surrounding music. It's because music is incorporative, you know, it's been ingrained in society for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, to play together. It brings people together. It's ceremony, it's warmth. It's kind of like when we get together and we eat together. It's, you know, it's part of culture. And you know, why would we want to separate ourselves from people, if when we can actually use those same talents, the same resources to bring us together. And
Oh
so
my
that's why
God.
I'm really, one of the reasons I'm really passionate about
You're afraid of
what's
music.
going on.
You're afraid of music. You're afraid of being part of the
A little
musical
bit,
scene. A little bit.
a little bit.
Wow.
I have some fears around it. I
Wow.
mean, nobody wants to be judged harshly, right?
I got my own issues, right? But
Yeah.
you you actually are afraid of playing music.
I have a fear of playing music with people. Now, for me, if I'm the leader of the band and I've got my guitar and I'm singing and I've got a good drummer who can follow me and a bass player and a lead guitar player, I can do that. I'm a good band leader. But if I am thrown into a mix of musicians where I have to follow them, I can do it, but I don't noodle on the guitar. I'm not like all over the place, like, no, I'm not the lead guitarist, but I can play, like, give me a cajon or a djembe or something. I got rhythm. I can do that. Okay. I'm confident in that. I can background sing. I can do that. But I have learned to, I've had to learn to become comfortable and not fear harsh judgment, because I do realize that anything that you do in life, people are going to agree with you and people are going to disagree with you, and you have to be able to navigate that. So for me, I break through those fears, and it's part of my lesson. And we all have our issues, right? But how do we approach our fears, and can we do that in a way that is moving us to the next level? So that's where I
Oh,
my fear with music, that is.
we could talk a lot more about that.
We could.
It's very
I'd like to hear
difficult.
some of your fears and anxieties surrounding music.
Oh man, God, I got multiple problems. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, but I
Oh,
kind of
I
am.
understand. We just all gotta do what gotta do.
It's true. It's a day-to-day thing sometimes. Um, do what you got to do. And as
Mhm.
long as you can keep your eye on the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes the birthing pains are not so comfortable. Sometimes they're painful, but you know, that's part of
You
the
you
process.
you mentioned birthing pains, and so I'll bring that up. You've had 5 kids.
I
5
have,
children
yes. I
have
have
come out of
given.
your body, which is astoundingly bizarre. 5 people have come out. Well, that's really scary.
I know.
I mean, I have not birthed
Yeah.
any children, so
Yeah. You haven't birthed any children, Brian?
no, it's not what I've done. But isn't that kind of scary?
It is. It is. It's actually a topic that I'm highly passionate about, and I started making a documentary about natural childbirth, both in the hospital and in the home. And it's part of human. It's part of not just human. It's part of being alive. Everything has eggs or live birth, and it's usually the females that do it. I was born as a female in this life, and I feel like I am supposed to be embracing that. So I am, and I have. But yeah, it's scary. You know what? It's not as scary as a person might think that it is. I think that there's a lot of fear. And I mean, that's a whole topic I could go
No,
off
no,
on,
no, no,
obviously, if I
no.
started making a
But
documentary
I
about it.
got a question. The first time it's got to be scary.
Every time is a little scary. And there's fears around it. What if I die? What if my baby dies? Those are the main fears people
I
have.
understand.
Or is it gonna hurt? Is it going to hurt? And labor pains it's painful. It's
I
painful.
don't doubt it. This is maybe a personal question, so you don't have to answer it. But did you have an epidermal in these cases?
I had all home births, all natural childbirths.
Really?
I'm very passionate about it, actually. Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, yeah. I believe that a woman has.
there is a place here called Mujeres Aliadas, and they're really into natural birth, which I'm in favor of. I would prefer that people not get cesarean sections as a default. I think that You know, it's better
Right.
if people
People.
bodies, you know, their bodies know what they're doing and stuff. And but at the same time, I'm all in favor of, if you need additional medical assistance, that be
Sure.
available. You know, that's
Exactly.
great. But I really like this program right here nearby, that, you know, women can have babies, and it can be mostly natural. They do a lot of water births, I think, you know. Did you do
Mhm.
water births at all?
Well, I've never given birth in the water, but I have soaked in the water, as it is very relaxing. But yeah, I am a proponent for empowering the woman, empowering the people in a lot of ways. But when we're talking about childbirth, it is about empowering the woman and the male if they have a partner, because
Thank you for saying that.
for real. And I mean, yes, if you have a partner, regardless if they're male or female, it is good to incorporate them in the process. It really is helpful to have as much support as possible. But our medical system is set up around fear. A lot of things are set up around fear. And so I've talked to women, many women, who are like, that's crazy to give birth outside of the hospital without any painkiller. And it's like, I've experienced more painful situations than than childbirth. Alcohol poisoning, far more painful than any of my childbirth experiences. That's just an example. I think there's a lot of we're fed by the media. We're fed through the millennia before there was even media. The midwives were being disempowered at one point in time, and the doctors more empowered, and they say, oh, the doctor gave birth. The woman didn't even give birth. It was the doctor that birthed the baby. So we're like taking all of the power out of the hands of the woman. And actually, this is our right as human beings, is to give birth. It's empowering, it's primal, and it's actually a psychedelic experience, because there are all these different hormones surging through the body. And during the birthing process, you are like a wild animal. And getting in touch with that primal part of yourself is so empowering. Afterwards, you just like, what's the, what did I gain out of this? You gained a life. Wow. It's magic. I can't even explain how empowering and magical that really is. It's to bring, to grow a life and birth it into
And
reality.
you had 5 kids, right?
Yep, 5 of them. Yep.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's more than average, right? I think the average is 2.5, right? 2.5,
Something like that, yeah.
3, have a half bit.
And you do feel a little bit criticized because you have
Oh,
had more than one, for
average.
example. You've had multiple children, and
Yeah.
and we, you know, we think about climate change,
Mhm,
and how many people produce how many people.
mhm,
Do
mhm.
you feel like you're criticized for?
Oh gosh, harshly. Harshly, I've been harshly criticized for a number of years. Okay. And I have heard all of the arguments about how we're overpopulated and any number of things, oh, isn't that disempowering as a woman? And doesn't that hold you back? And, I've heard all of the different arguments. And what I have to say to the population thing, it's like, hey, you know, when somebody approaches me about my choice of having children and in a scrutinizing way, and they say, isn't the world overpopulated? My question is, what are you doing to help the planet? As a person who thinks that the world's overpopulated and I shouldn't have babies, um, what are you doing? And if the answer is I don't know, then okay, if you think that there's not enough space, and this is kind of harsh, then go ahead and just end your life now and make room for people who are actually going to do something positive in the world. I know that's harsh, but that's where I have to, to say anything about a mother and her children is a little bit harsh too, I have to say. So, but no, I feel that that my children are, of course, I'm biased. I think my children are amazing. And I think they have the potential to do many, many amazing things to help reverse some of the damages that, that we as human beings have encroached upon our planet. There's a lot of damages being done. And so, you know, how are we gonna reverse some of these things? Well, it's gonna take action. It's going to take people who are forward thinkers to, yeah, that's what I believe at least. And so I at least go, okay, my kids might do something. I'm trying to do something too. So, so I'll do something.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. I mean, I don't know about your kids, but I like the idea that you're building a team, you know, and that
Mhm.
your children will make better world than there is now. So I hope that's the case.
That's what we hope for. That's what we hope for, right? Is
Yeah.
that we can all, in our own individual ways, take action to help soothe some of the pain that has been inflicted upon the planet.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm with you on that one.
And all my kids are musicians, by the way.
Well,
Get back to music.
we have not finished our conversation about music.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
Music.
I could say that music is decadent. I could say it's yeah, decadent. And I could say it's
I like that.
like music festivals. I'm not sure I'm a big fan. And so we
Oh,
might
really? Really?
really, and so we
Wait,
might have to
worry about
have some more conversations about that. Like, why would people go to a
that.
place just to listen to some music and buy some overpriced products and be like little weakling consumers? So if
Mm.
we want to, we can have another conversation about why music festivals are total bullshit.
So that's interesting. I do, I see where your standpoint is. I've taken it kind of the opposite way. I am very passionate about music festivals and bringing together community. Now, there are a lot of music festivals where I have gone to music festivals and look around and everybody's drinking alcohol and heavy on drugs and they're just out of their mind. And it's like, okay, is that what a music festival is about? Is just going and getting fucked up and listening to music, loud music, right? Well, maybe for some people that's the case. And eating the really expensive foods and stuff that are there, buying products or whatever. But see, I'm a visionary. I'm a spiritual. I actually receive vision from divine. I'm a ordained minister. Not that really, I can marry. I can, if you want to get married one day, I can marry you to somebody. But anyway, regardless of that, music festivals. When I've gone to these music festivals to go and teach, because I usually go to these music festivals with the intention of being an educator, and I educate usually about mushrooms, about fungi. And what I have seen and my experience is that people come to these events, especially the young people, but all ages. They come because they want to be a part of something. They want to be part of a community, and we really lack community in a lot of social situations. People want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, even if that, whatever that means. And so the music gathering, I see that. I see a lot of it's almost like children, like, because I really am in touch with children, but I see that people want to be a part of something that is grander than what they're doing currently. And so I see the music festival scene as an opportunity to provide information for people who may be looking for something to grasp a hold of. And so I'm an advocate for the mushrooms and how we can use them in soil production and to remediate toxic waste. And there are mushrooms that eat plastics and any number of things, right? So I teach about all these different things that mushrooms do, and I provide resources where people, if they want to dive in deeper, they can dive into those things. But I think that the music festivals, you've got a lot of people gathering because the music, that's a place to reach a lot of people. And so that's where I'm really passionate about music festivals.
Yeah, I understand that. And so what we were saying is you see these festivals as recruiting events.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
can recruit
Yeah.
people
So
who
yeah.
you can recruit people
Yeah.
who have different ideas, maybe.
You can recruit or just connect and network with people. I've been involved with festivals for as an educator. I've been involved in festivals as an event planner. I do. I have. I have many skills. Okay, I can connect with the musicians or the live artist or the educators. And so now, right now, I'm working on 3 or 4 different festivals right now where I am organizing the educational portion of the event because that's something that I've been called to do, and it just seems to kind of, I get these opportunities. But eventually, I plan to have my own piece of land where I'm organizing these events on my own property. So
Oh,
I'll have
really?
more control over it. Yep, that's my
Well,
long vision.
maybe some other time we'll flirt with each other offline.
In the music realm.
I don't know. I mean, I mean, I started this whole conversation out saying I'm against music, but the truth is I'm not. Music is a powerful force.
It is. It is. It brings people together. And not
Yeah.
only that, but just within yourself. Listen, if you're in a bad mind space, you can put on some music and it can just shift your whole mood. I mean, it's really powerful. And I believe that music surges through us in many different ways. Maybe music isn't just what is audible to our ears, but it may be in frequencies that we are not even aware that are happening around us. And just as tones are very beautiful and can be very, very, that's so sweet. There is also, sound that can be like disruptive. And, so it's what we're focusing on, I suppose. What are we drawing to ourselves? What are we creating? As beings, we have the ability to create. Right. And we can be pirates who are out there, raping and pillaging, or we could be pirates of love. I'm a musical pirate. So yeah, what are we, what are we choosing? What are we choosing?
That is a great question. Well, I'm going to wrap up this particular conversation, and I've really enjoyed talking with you. You know, I really like talking to you. So we'll
Oh,
end
very
this
good.
conversation, and I hope that other people do think about music a little bit. I guess the topic was music, right? We'll see.
The topic this time around was music. It was music. That was the
So
topic.
strange, so strange.